Good morning and welcome back, and thank you for joining in for today's lesson of 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. So, yesterday we discussed paradigms and what exactly are paradigms. And we discussed that a paradigm is like a map of your life. And the example we used is, let's say you had a map, like an actual map that you would hold in your hands, and you were in Florida and you were trying to get to Chicago, but the map had been created incorrectly. So where Chicago is, it said it was Detroit. And where Detroit actually is on the map, it said it was Chicago. So you took off from Florida and you headed to Chicago, and where you actually landed was Detroit. That's an example of a paradigm that needs to shift. So you start off expecting something, and then by the time you get to where you think you should be, it's not what you expected at all. Another example that we used was a father and daughter situation where the daughter thinks she'll never get along with her dad because he's just a stubborn butthead, basically. And the dad thinks he'll never get along with his daughter because he thinks she's a spoiled brat. When in all factuality, they're probably just alike and they need a paradigm shift. Dad needs to realize that daughter is 100% like him and very lovable, and daughter needs to realize that dad's just looking out for her and doing what's in her best interest. So paradigm shifts can drastically change the way we see things in life. So we're going to start today with principles and being principle centered. And we didn't get to finish the whole chapter yesterday before time ran out, but we will finish that chapter today. So you'll finish for homework this afternoon or this evening. You'll do the 2 questions on the PowerPoint that we didn't get to yesterday that involves principles. And then you'll also have some personal things to do for homework as well. Okay, so let's jump right in and we'll do a quick review. Yesterday, what we discussed were outside, paradigms of life. We discussed being friend-centered, so having a life that revolves totally around your friends, not thinking about anything or anyone else, and how that can negatively affect you later in life. We talked about being stuff-centered, those people who are always walking around and judging people based on, the 2 examples I used were the shoes they wear and the phones that they carry. We talked about being boyfriend and girlfriend centered, and how if you smother your boyfriend or your girlfriend, they're not going to like you as much as you would like them to. We talked about being school centered and how you can definitely put so much effort into school that you burn yourself out. We talked about being parent centered, which is where you rely so much on your parents and their opinion of you that you totally stress yourself out because you can't possibly live up to everyone else's expectations. The only expectations that really count are the expectations you hold for yourself. We talked about being sports centered, hobby centered, and hero centered. So we talked about being all kinds of centered yesterday, and we talked about the negative impact that can have on your life. And today we are going to discuss being principle centered. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to you here with the text so we can just jump right in. Hello? Okay, there it goes. Okay, so principle centered, the real thing. In case you were starting to wonder, there is a center that actually works. What is it? Drum roll, please. Da-na-na-na. It's being principle centered. We're all familiar with the effects of gravity. Throw a ball up and it comes down. It's a natural law or principle. Just as there are principles that rule the physical world, there are also principles that rule the human world. Principles aren't religious. They aren't based on nationality or race. They aren't mine or yours. They aren't up for discussion. They apply equally to everyone, male or female, rich or famous. Yep, rich or poor, famous or obscure. They can't be bought or sold. If you live by them, you will excel. If you break them, you will fail. Hey, that sort of rhymes, but it's seriously that simple. So, here are a few examples. Honesty is a principle. Service is a principle. Love is a principle. Hard work is a principle. Respect, gratitude, moderation, fairness, integrity, loyalty, and responsibility are principles. There are dozens and dozens more. They are not hard to identify, just as a compass always points to true north. Your heart will recognize true principles. For example, think about the principle of hard work. You may be able to scrape by using shortcuts and faking it for a while, but eventually it'll catch up to you. This little cartoon of this guy trying to hit that golf ball and throw in dirt. I remember one time being invited to play in a golf tournament with my college football coach. He was a great golfer. Everyone, including my coach, expected that I'd be a fine golfer as well. After all, I was a college athlete, and all college athletes should be great golfers, right? Wrong. You see, I stunk at golf. I'd only played a few times in my life, and I didn't even know how to hold a club properly. I was nervous about everyone finding out how bad I was at golf, especially my coach. So I was hoping that I could fool him and everyone else into thinking I was good. On the very first hole, there was a small crowd gathered around. I was first up to tee off. Why me? As I stepped up to hit the ball, I prayed for a miracle. Swoosh! It worked. A miracle. I couldn't believe it. I had hit a long shot straight down the middle of the fairway. I turned around and smiled to the crowd and acted as if I'd always hit like that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I had them all fooled, but I was only fooling myself because there were 17 and a half more holes to go. In fact, it took only about 5 more shots for everyone around me, including my coach, to realize that I was a complete golf sham. It wasn't long until the coach was trying to show me how to swing the club. I had been exposed. Ouch. You can't fake playing golf, tuning a guitar, or speaking Arabic if you haven't paid the price to get good. There's no way around it. Hard work is a principle. As the NBA great Larry Bird put it, if you don't do your homework, you won't make your free throws. Isn't that the truth? So, here are some principles that you may find. Self, boyfriend and girlfriend, parent, school, work, stuff, sports and hobbies, friends, enemies, hero, and again, self. Wow, you might look at that and go, hey, that looks just like the paradigms that we discussed yesterday. As a matter of fact, they're all based on the same things. It's life's principles. So, principles never fail. It takes faith to live by principles. especially when you see people close to you ahead in life by lying, cheating, indulging, manipulating, and serving only themselves. What you don't see, however, is that breaking principles always catches up to them in the end. Take the principle of honesty. If you're a big liar, you may be able to get by for a while, even for a few years, but you'd be hard pressed to find a liar who achieves success over the long haul. As Cecil B. DeMille observed about his classic movie, The Ten Commandments. No, it is impossible for us to break the law. We can only break ourselves against the law. Unlike all the other sinners we've looked at, principles will never fail you. They'll never gossip behind your back. They don't move away. They don't suffer career-ending injuries. They don't play favorites based on skin color, gender, wealth, or appearance. A principle-centered life is simply the most stable, immovable, unshakable foundation you can build upon, and we all need one of those. Okay, so this is my little guy. He's evidently going to join us today. Jason, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, but you have to be really good and quiet, okay? And let mommy do her work. Okay. Sorry, guys. To grasp why principles always work, just imagine living a life based on their opposites. A life of dishonesty, laziness, indulgence, ingratitude, selfishness, and hate. I can't imagine any good things coming out of that. Can you? Ironically, living a principle-centered life is the key to excelling in all the other centers. If you live the principles of service, respect, and love, for instance, you're likely to pick up more friends and be more stable boyfriend or girlfriend. Putting principles first is also the key to becoming a person of character. Let's take a look at this quote. It is impossible for us to break the law. We can only break ourselves against the law. Cecil B. DeMille, film director. Decide today to make principles your core life center or paradigm. In whatever situation you find yourself, ask, what's the principle in play here? For every problem, search for the principle that will help you solve it. If you're feeling worn out and beaten up by life, perhaps you should try the principle of balance. If you find no one trusts you, the principle of honesty might just be the cure you need. In the story, Loyalty to a Brother by Walter McPeak, loyalty was the principle in play. Here's an example. One of two brothers fighting in the same company in France fell by a German bullet. The one who escaped asked permission of his officer to go and bring his brother in. He is probably dead, said the officer, and there is no use in your risking your life to bring his body. But after further pleading, the officer consented. Just as the soldier reached the lines with his brother on his shoulders, the wounded man died. There, you see, said the officer, you risked your life for nothing. No, replied Tom. I did what he expected of me, and I have my reward. When I crept up to him and took him in my arms, he said, Tom, I knew you would come. I just felt you would come. In the upcoming chapters, you'll discover that each of the 7 habits is based upon a basic principle or two. And that's where they get their power from. The long and short of it is principle rule. One moment, please. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for being patient with me. All right, so the long and the short of what we just discussed is that principles rule. All right, so you have the 2 questions from the PowerPoint that we looked at yesterday, and I'll make sure that's uploaded with the file again today with the video, so that you can finish those 2 questions. And I think the one question was, according to the text, according to the text, what are some examples of centers? Are they positive or negative? And then read Principle-Centered, the real thing, write a paragraph which discusses how being principle-centered is positive. Okay, so you're kind of comparing there or contrasting. The first question wants to know if you think that in paradigms of life are centers positive or negative. And then the second question is read principle-centered and write a paragraph to discuss how principle-centered is being positive. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to look at here is becoming attractions, and this is where you're going to find the rest of your homework. So up next, we'll talk about how to get rich in a way you probably never thought of, and we will start that portion of the book tomorrow. But just a quick note, a word about baby steps. One of my family's favorite movies is an old classic called What About Bob, starring Bill Murray. It is the story of a dysfunctional, phobia-laden, immature, pea-brained leech named Bob who never ever goes away. He attaches himself to Dr. Marvin, a renowned psychiatrist, who wants nothing more than to get rid of Bob and finally gives him a book he wrote called Baby Steps. He tells Bob that the best way to solve his problems is not to bite off too much at once, but to just take baby steps to reach his goals. Bob is delighted. He no longer has to worry about how to get all the way home from Dr. Marvin's office, a big task for Bob. Instead, Bob only has to baby step his way out of the office and then baby step his way onto the elevator and so on. So I'll give you some baby steps at the end of each chapter, starting with this one. Small, easy steps that you can do immediately to help you apply what you just read. Though small, these steps can become powerful tools in helping you achieve your larger goals. So come along with Bob. He really becomes very likable after you accept the fact that you can't shake him. And let's take some baby steps. All right, baby step 1. The next time you look in the mirror, say something positive about yourself. It seems silly, but genuinely, mirror talk works. So, next time you look in the mirror, I want you to look in the mirror and tell yourself something positive. Wow, your hair looks great today. Wow, Brittany, you have the best complexion. Look at yourself and simply say, I am enough. And do it making eye contact. I mean, that's what matters, okay? Is that you are saying it to yourself. 2, show appreciation for someone's point of view today. Say something like, hey, that's a cool idea. You don't necessarily even have to agree with it, but show gratitude for the fact that they cared enough to share it with you. Number 3, think of a limiting paradigm you might have of yourself, such as, I'll never be outgoing. Now do something today that totally contradicts that paradigm. I'll never get all this schoolwork done. Guess what? Sit down, focus your mind, figure out what you need to do, and get your schoolwork done. It's important. Number 4, think of a loved one or close friend who has been acting out of character lately. Consider what might be causing them to act that way. And then, just maybe, if you're up to the challenge, reach out. Don't talk to them about what might be causing it. Don't even tell them you've noticed. Just ask them, hey, how you doing? Are you happy? That can go a long way. Someone knowing that you actually genuinely care can go a long way. And last but not least, your fifth baby step and fifth piece of homework for today is when you have nothing to do, what is it that occupies your thoughts? Remember, whatever is most important to you will become your paradigm or life center. So think to yourself and really figure this out. What occupies my time and energy? And most importantly, is it worth it? Okay? Not last and not least. Sorry, guys. Number 6, the golden rule rules. Begin today to treat others as you would want them to treat you. Don't be impatient, complain about what's for dinner, or badmouth someone unless you want the same treatment. Mm, that kind of hit a little bit right there. Number 7, sometime soon, find a quiet place where you can be alone. Think about what matters most to you. And this can actually couple with number 5, what occupies my time and energy. So, what matters most to me? What is occupying my time and energy? And are those things worth it? And then, lastly, number 8, listen carefully to the lyrics of the music you listen to most frequently. Consider if they are in harmony with the principles you believe in. I think sometimes we find that they might not be. Okay, so you have quite a bit of homework today, 10 things to do total, right? And it won't take you long. And hopefully it'll get you a little bit more in tune with who you really are. All right? I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. It was short and sweet, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Have a good one.